we have expectations. You can't trust everything that you hear. You got to look at the behavior of other people. Everything that moves isn't always progressive. You can run in place and not go anywhere.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
And that was just one of those moments where you're chasing that, you constantly, and every semester and every year after that, it was been a struggle.
Your prayer is answered, though.
Oh yeah. I told God this, and when I came up the highway and I went to Vernon's house, he was like a deacon at the church, and I said, "You home?" It was a Sunday. I was moving up the highway, getting ready to go up to Connecticut. He's off of Woodland Avenue at the time. He was using to be next to Mars Township Police Department. Mm-hmm. His house is right next door, and I came up there with the truck with the load, the whole truck down the residential road, pulled in front of the house. Cheryl comes out, his wife. It's like, "Oh God, that's a big truck." We talked all the time. He came out. I said, "God, if you get me this truck, I'm the driver behind the wheel. Just do what you need to do." I said, "I get the truck, and then I'm going to get things done." I said, "This is your truck. Just guide me to get what I have to do to take care of my kids." So he came out, put his hand on my shoulder. We prayed over the truck, and he oiled up the front of the hood of the truck, and the truck did his business. I got my prayer. He put, anointed it and gave me my blessing, prayed over me, prayed over the truck to do his business and to do the job that I came to do. Went back down the street and put it down a little tight alley, a little side road, and went back on my way, and from there, 5 years into the future, I got to see her graduate and walk across that stage, So
I'm going to tell you what, man.
It's been a crazy journey.
You focused your attention on what's the most important, and that's your kids, because you and I lost contact, and so it's weird how things work out. And I'm driving down to South Jersey. My cousin's son just graduated Paris Island. Mm-hmm. And I went down for his graduation, and on the way down, I'm like, and you popped in my head. And I'm like, you know what? I haven't talked to Freddie in a long time.
Right.
Right. Now I get on the phone with you, and it was the greatest thing in the world, because we just picked it up. We just picked it up right where we left off. Like, there was no gap in time. And it was one of the most comforting things. And this is probably March or April something, April 19th. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. It was April 19th. And we just pick it up. And I'm like, and I hang up the phone with you, and I'm like, God, I miss my friend. I miss my friend. And then, so this speaks, you go through all of that, and yet you're still the same type of person, because this tragedy strikes, and my friend takes his life. And something compelled me to call you. I don't know why I called you. I was just calling you to see what was up.
Yeah.
See how you're doing. And I was at my son's baseball game. This typical Freddie Mitchell fashion. He goes, "Where are you?" I'm like, no, you know what? It's the third inning of the game. You're not going to make it here. It was in East Hanover. You're not going to make it here. He goes, "I'm going to be right there." Sure enough, I see this big motherfucker walking down the hill. Here he comes. And I get the biggest hug in the world. And, man, you took away a lot of pain that day.
I heard it in your voice. It's the same. I mean, you guys are close. You started a business, and, it's a tragedy to hear that. And I said, man, it's like the things that are left behind are the ones that suffer too, right?
That's it.
And
but after you went through all of that, you took pity on a poor soul who was in some pain, and you came up on a phone call. And that speaks to the type of person you are. And I'm so happy that you never stopped being that shepherd that we talked about. So I want to know, you like, where are you heading now? Where is your like, what's the next chapter in your life? Because there's a lot of chapters, bro.
I think, I guess the situation we are in now, reuniting and talking about these subjects, actually, it helps on both ends. Like you said, there's a comfort that comes with it. It's like getting the things, and you're venting the truth of your life and your crisis and the hardships and the suffering that we go through. We suffer in silence most of the time. And sometimes when you revere a certain person or things, we have expectations. You can't trust everything that you hear. You got to look at the behavior of other people. Everything that moves isn't always progressive. You can run in place and not go anywhere, right? So, and when you're looking at life, I think, sowing, you can never sow a bad seed on good soil. You get sow good seed on good soil, you bear fruit, right? So it's just an aspect and approach that I think that when you are able to lean into what keeps you strong, I think it also lends itself to now you can be that person paying it forward to others,
And that's what, but here it's got this weird dynamic to it. So it's the one universal about men. No matter how tough and hard you try to act, you're hurting inside. And we all are hurting inside. And I this guy reached out to me after Mike's death. His name's Evan Seinfeld.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know whether Evan is the smartest or dumbest person I ever met, but Evan's the lead singer of a band called Biohazard.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever remember that HBO show Oz?
Yeah.
As he was Jazz Hoyt. That's Evan Seinfeld. But Evan Seinfeld is also a porn star.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he was married to Tara Patrick and divorced Tara Patrick, which that I questioned some of the things in his head, and then divorced her and married this woman, Little Lupe. But the point is I've been talking with him after Mike's death, and he runs this program called Mentorship. It's down in Mexico, and he'd asked me to speak at one of the events. And I'm thinking to myself, here's a guy who, on paper, has it all.
Right.
But he's hurting inside. He's hurting. He's tattooed from head to toe, but he's hurting inside. So what he figured the stuff out. In order to heal himself, he has to try to give it away and try to heal other people. So he runs these big programs where men can just sit there and be themselves. Drop your fucking ego,
right,
and just be yourself, and let's talk. Let's real talk. Me and you have had real talk. And I think too many men in particular don't have that real talk. Women have it. Women are very fortunate in that respect.
Right.
But it's amazing that there's the more you think that separates us is the more that draws us together.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true. I think, as I was going through, man, I can jump in anywhere in my life, and there's been some things, right? Unfortunately, the tough part is to keep the face on, and you're broken, as much as I've experienced and been in the military. Like you said, you can be the tough guy and you can be that operation mentality. But at the end of the day, when you see your family get torn apart based on the system and how things are being, manipulated, and the misunderstandings, and, the lack of communication, and I have to put this face on, this mask, right, to keep my kids, and then trying to be something for the wife at the time. And, now she's the ex, right? And the system failed her as it failed me. We're on the same side of things. Some things that, you may have to go get the divorce. You may have to go your own way, but they lied to her as much as they lied to anyone else. They're not there to keep your family together. So you're fighting a different system for which the intentions are completely wrong. There's no room for criminal court when a person needs medical attention. She needed grief counseling, not court and trials. When a person's going through that level of loss, as we do, is like, do you become suicidal, or do you do something to fix it?
Do you have sympathy for her?
I do. And as crazy as that may sound, I don't necessarily hate my ex-wife.
No, it doesn't sound. It doesn't sound crazy to me at all.
Because my family got destroyed behind the BS and the bullshit that I went through, obviously, because I try to save my family and try to keep their mother safe. Now, when you try to save a person that can't be saved because now you're too involved. So you're trying to keep, me being in the military, you don't want to expose all your family tragedies. You don't want to be exposed, because we're, as men, this is why we suffer in silence, because you want to keep those family secrets. You want to keep those family woes and problems and traumatic incidents and things that happen.
You want to show the world one thing.
Right.
That's not what it is.
There's the mask, right? There's, we got to unveil those things. But at the same time, it's like, if you can't take care of your family, then you're going to be labeled as weak. So you got all these mantras. Man don't supposed to cry. But
Bullshit.
You got to cry.
I cried I cry many times. And
yeah. And that's the problem.
That's a recent thing.
Yeah. But that's, like with my boys, as of right now, there's not a time that we don't get off the phone and we don't tell each other we love you. That's something you never did with a dude, right? You don't say that.
I say it to a lot of people now.
We say it now. Because how many times have you got on the phone? Is this last phone call you have?
His last words to me were, "Hey, Kev, you know I love you, brother." Those were his last words to me. So guess what? I end every text message. I end all that shit now with, "Hey, I love you." And you know what? I don't care what I don't care what you think of me. That's my way of showing my affection to you. So, Freddie, we're coming to the end of this thing.
I got you.
And you've gone through an enormous amount. I mean, and you're still to some extent going through it.
Yeah.
But you had to have learned something in all of this. You had to learn something from your suffering. So what do you think all this suffering has taught you?
It's still a journey, Kev. I'm still going through some things as we speak today. I think a lot of men need to sit back and then, like you say, have a safe place to be able to have that conversation. Iron sharpens iron. So I think, you have to have those discussions. We don't have the support groups or support that most of us should have to be able to have the real discussions about, mental health, jobs, the stresses of homes, because everything falls on most men's shoulders as we live life. But the lessons, I guess, learned is like, you got to live your life in a manner that's going to be well with you. You got to look in the mirror. And I think you got to find your own happiness. You got to find some peace, and then have the people around you that can add on to that, as an asset. Now no liabilities out here. People go through things, and we're all human. But I think you got to look yourself in the mirror and then ask yourself that question. What do I deal with today? What makes me happy? And then you got to go seek that. And then within that, then I think life becomes a little bit easier, even in the crisis of things.
Well, thank God there's a Freddie Mitchell in this world. Yeah, that's what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're here, brother. So, you never know what's going to resonate to a person or what saves them or gets them over the hump. But I'm glad the door opened a little bit and you was able to lean in and
you have no
find
idea
some stuff.
You have no idea how much I talk about you, and I love you.
Love you too, brother.
And listen, thank you so much. Thank you for everything.
You're welcome.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of Retaliation, Part 2. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned. Always be a shepherd. There's always a way. Decisions, sometimes not very good ones, come in war. You are your brother's keeper. You have to look in the mirror, but most importantly, make sure you have your why. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount on your digital business card. Follow us on all social media. That's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, OnlyFans. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson, of course. Follow the Suffering Podcast, and we're going to see you on the next episode.